I was a father before I was anything else. My name is Robert Miller, and before I was ever called old, before my hair turned gray and my hands started shaking, I was simply a father trying to do right by his son. When Daniel was born, I remember standing in that hospital room, scared and proud at the same time, promising myself that no matter how hard life got, this boy would never feel alone. I worked construction for decades, waking up before sunrise, coming home exhausted, carrying pain in my bones that never really left. But every time Daniel ran into my arms, all of that disappeared. I didn't buy myself new clothes, I didn't travel, I didn't complain, because in my mind, a father's happiness comes last, and I was okay with that. Or at least I thought I was. As Daniel grew older, I watched him turn from a little boy who needed guidance into a young man who needed money, opportunities, and support. College fees, business ideas, cars, dreams, I paid for everything. I emptied savings accounts I had built for years, telling myself I'd figure something out later. People warned me. They said, "Robert, you're giving too much." But I believed love had no limits. I believed if I stood strong for him, he'd stand strong for me someday. Looking back now, I realize I taught him how to receive, but not how to value. When Daniel married Emily, I truly thought my family was growing. I paid for the wedding, stood smiling in pictures, and thanked God for giving my son a partner. But after the wedding, something in the house changed. The laughter faded. Conversation stopped, including me. The hardest part wasn't the yelling. It wasn't even the insults. It was the neglect. Days when food was cooked but not offered. Nights when I sat alone while they laughed in another room. I learned to stay quiet. I learned to shrink myself so I wouldn't cause trouble. Imagine raising a child with love only to fear asking him for a meal when you're old. That kind of pain doesn't scream. It just sits in your chest and grows heavier every day. One morning, Daniel said we were going for a drive. I didn't question him. Why would I? He was my son. But when we stopped at an old age home, my heart dropped in a way I can't describe. Emily didn't step out of the car. Daniel carried my small bag, everything I owned after giving him everything I had. No explanation, no goodbye hug, just signatures and silence. I remember sitting alone afterward, staring at the walls, thinking, so this is how a lifetime of sacrifice ends? Not with anger, but with abandonment. The nights were unbearable. I'd sit by the window, watching the sky change colors, remembering Daniel as a child, his first bike, his first school day, the way he used to fall asleep on my shoulder. I talked to myself because there was no one else. I cried quietly because old men don't like to be seen breaking. Days turned into months, months into years. No calls, no visits. Just silence so loud it hurt my ears. Loneliness doesn't leave bruises, but it slowly takes pieces of you away. I prayed every day, not for revenge, not for money, not even for Daniel to come back. I prayed for peace. I prayed for strength to wake up another morning. I asked God to keep my heart from turning bitter, because bitterness would have been the final defeat. Somewhere along the way, I stopped waiting for my son and started waiting for God. That waiting kept me alive. One afternoon, two young boys stood in front of me, smiling like they knew me. They said, "Are you Grandpa Robert?" My heart nearly stopped. Their names were Lucas and Ethan, my grandsons. I didn't even know they existed. Their laughter filled something inside me that had been empty for years. In that moment, I realized life hadn't forgotten me after all. It was just late. A Tactile. Later that same day, Daniel walked in. He looked older, quieter, heavier with guilt. Emily cried. Daniel couldn't look me in the eyes at first. Then he said, "Dad, I lost my way. I saw the little boy I once protected standing inside a grown man's shame." He apologized, not just with words, but with tears. And I understood something then. Life teaches lessons painfully, but it teaches them all the same. I forgave him, not because the pain disappeared, but because holding on to anger would have destroyed what little peace I had left. Forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was survival. I went back home not as a burden, not as a provider, but as a father who deserved dignity. Now my days are filled with toy cars, bedtime stories, and small hands pulling me toward joy. Lucas and Ethan call me Grandpa like it's the greatest title on earth. And maybe it is. God didn't erase my suffering, but He gave it meaning. He reminded me that even after years of darkness, light can still find its way back to you. Tad or three. If you're listening to my story, remember this. Hardships don't last forever. People may fail you, even your own blood. But patience, faith, and kindness always find their reward. Sometimes, after a lifetime of pain, God doesn't give you what you lost. He gives you something even better.